Welcome to a MainelyDIY.com video.
Hi, welcome to Mainly DIY. I'm going to show you how I made my own face mask. And so I have a pattern here that I've designed, and I'm going to cut that out with a pair of paper scissors. So I am going to cut out the outside of my mask from this fashion fabric. And I've got two layers here. And I'm going to go ahead and pin that on and go ahead and cut that out. So then I'm going to do a little pinning for sewing. So I'm going to take my pattern off, set that aside for a second, and I'm going to put right sides of my mask together. This is the outside of my mask, and I'm lining up this curve here. This is the nose piece, or it goes over your nose and your mouth and your chin. And I am going to go ahead and put pins along in that. And what I will do is I will sew a 1/4 inch seam right along that curve. And while I'm pinning, I am going to just pin down a really kind of a scant edge here, just to cover up my raw edges here. So just a scant edge. Okay, so I have some flannel here, and I'm going to use that for the inside of my mask because it's nice and soft. And what I have done is I've taken my pattern piece, I have folded it here along what's called the cutting line, and because this edge is sticking up just a little bit, I've folded that underneath. I will put it on my fabric, pin it down, and I will take my fabric scissors and cut out around it. So here I have my piece cut, and I have my right sides together, and I am pinning along this curved edge, which I am going to put a 1/4 inch seam around. Okay, so I've sewn this edge of my mask. And this is my front. So I'm going to open that front up, open my lining up, and I'm going to pin them together, right sides together. I'm going to place one seam going one way and one going the other way. So I will put a pin in there, and this is up at the top where the nose is. Then I'm going to come down to the bottom of my mask, which is my chin area, and I'm going to put my seams in the same direction that I had them up by my nose. So I had this lining fabric going on that side, and it is on all the way across. So now I'm going to pin across the bottom of my mask, which is again the chin area. Now I will take it to the sewing machine, sew a 1/4 inch seam along the bottom, the chin area, and then on the nose area, the top nose area. I have my mask sewn here up along the nose and down here around the chin. So I am going to turn it right side out and then kind of nest the inside into the outside there. So now you have a choice. You can press this seam down, and again, I didn't clip the curves. You could do that if you like. You may want to top stitch the edge, but then again you may not, because I want as little bumps or anything touching my face as possible. So I want to keep that smooth. So I will probably just iron line down. So I'm going to fold this flap over here to cover this raw edge, and I've stitched my edge down to give me a guide. So I'm going to come up here to the top and pinch what would have been my seam allowance from the top, and I'm making sure that I am covering that edge, and I will put a pin in there because I want to cover the edge of my flannel or my lining. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to, on the bottom, I'm folding out my seam allowance from the bottom, and then I am pinning to make sure that I cover my flannel raw edge or my lining raw edge. And I am going to stitch that along my line because I've did my sewing line from before, because I think my flannel will be covered, or my raw edge of my lining needs to be covered. I will take it to the sewing machine and stitch along that seam line that that sewing line that I made before. So I have my mask here all sewn up. I chose not to stitch down this line. You certainly could do that, but I chose not to. And then I'm going to take a bodkin and some round elastic. It's longer than I need, but I wanted to have it so I could custom fit. And I'm going to take my little bodkin, feed it through, wrap my little elastic in the hook. Oops, open my little latch here. So I'm putting my elastic on my little hook for my bodkin, and then I am going to feed my end right through, unattach that, and then I am going to take my bodkin, feed it through the other side. I'm going to go ahead and tie these two ends together, and then I am going to take it and put it on my head, test it for fit, and adjust this knot to where I need to be. So I'm going to retie my knot probably about there. If you're making it for somebody else, you can just instruct them where to tie their knot after trying it on. And so I'm going to go ahead and test that before I cut it. So when I have the knot where I want it, I can trim off my excess. If you are making it for somebody else, I would highly suggest you wash it before using it.